Support for Consider This is provided by the University of Nebraska at Omaha College of Communication, Fine Arts, and Media.
From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, CT Behind the Scenes. Here to talk more about it are UNO's Chris Allen, journalism professor in the School of Communication and general manager of UNO Television. Mike Paholski, video instructor and director of Consider This, and Timothy Eves. Timothy is one of 11 students who work on the crew for this program. We'll meet another student, Stephanie Sambrano, a little later. Thank you all so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, we are going to start with you. What is important for us to know about the School of Communication?
I think the important thing to know about the UNO School of Communication is its broad nature of education. We teach everything from speech communication, what we used to call speech communication, we now call it communication studies, public speaking, organizational communication, human relations. We cover such a vast a curriculum of subjects that go all the way back to Aristotle and Plato. And it's a fantastic faculty that does that. And on the other side, we teach mass communication, advertising, public relations, journalism, television, television news, all of those, and another group of really excellent faculty members. And the amazing thing is how well those two come together, because they're really quite different disciplines, and have very different theoretical bases. But at our master's degree level is where the School of Communication really becomes unique, because students who get a master's degree from us get a theoretical and research background in both the communication disciplines that you don't get anywhere else. My master's degree and my PhD are all in journalism and media mass communication. And I don't have any background in communication studies. And many people who get communication studies have no background in mass communication. But when you come out of here, you've had a theoretical background in both.
Wow, very impressive. Has it always been that way? Talk a little about the history of this particular one.
Yeah, the history is very interesting. Back in 1972, the Department of Journalism and the Department of Speech faculties got together and they said, look, we can share some resources, we can have a very strong department if we get together and find ways that we can work together. And it's been that way since 1972. I've been at a school where it was sort of a forced marriage between the two, and it just cleaved apart. I mean, it just crumbled. We don't, because there is so much integrated interest, so much integrated respect for each other, and so much care and concern for the students at the undergraduate and the graduate level that we find ways to make things work.
Chris, talk about your history in all of this.
I came here, I'm just ending my 22nd year of teaching here. I came here in 1996, fresh out of a PhD program at the University of Missouri. I had interviewed at a couple of places, and I knew from being here that this was a great place. I really did not want to come to Omaha. I had bad impressions about Omaha. I had heard bad things about Omaha. I didn't know anything about the university except what I had hurriedly studied when I got it. I could not have chosen a better place to continue my career. I had been teaching before that. I could not have chosen a better place to come. I could not have chosen a better place to raise my family, for my wife to have a career. But for me, I've been so lucky because the people here and the faculty, the people who have chaired the department or directed the school now as a school of communication, have always given me an opportunity to do the things that I've wanted to do. Since 2000, I've been taking students to London on an overseas global media communication trip. We learn during the semester, and then we apply the ideas when we go to London. I've taken students to Oman. I've spent a Fulbright year in Oman. They gave me a partial paid leave to go to Oman and teach over there for a year. We started the Omaha News. That was not something that we were doing when I came here. Mike Hilton and I got that started. Everything that I've wanted to do, everything that I've thought, I got permission to take a whole school year, 2 semesters, and put together a documentary about Peony Park with a handful of students. 6 students is all I had. The opportunities I've been given, the people that I've met, the committees that I've served on, the other things that are going on have been so foundationally. I have become an international learner and teacher because of my experiences here.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm working in India. There's so much stuff going on. I'm working with Afghans.
Chris, I'd ask if you like your job. I think I've got that. Congratulations. That sounds very, very fascinating. And Mike, what about you? What about your history here?
Well, my history started here. I was a student right out of high school. I got my first degree, broadcast production, in the 1970s. Now I have 2 degrees from UNO. So I worked in commercial television and corporate video after my bachelor's, and then I came back to UNO about 12 and a half years ago. And at that time I did the work to get a master's degree in communication. To Chris's point, it was theoretical studies on organizational communication. Is very interesting. So now I work producing videos for UNO, and I work with students, and I teach some classes in video production.
Talk about your introduction to Consider This, because that was underway when you were brought on board. So
right.
How were you introduced to that?
Well, this is, as everyone knows, this is the 21st season. So that means I came in, I think, about season 9. And when I got on board, I started directing the program. So I've been directing it since I've been here. And I like that type of program. I've always felt that local television, that's what distinguished it, is because we don't, we're not just concerned about developing a popular program for profit, but we address issues that viewers are interested in. And I think you can only do that at the local level. So I was very pleased that we had a show like Consider This that we continue to do to speak to our viewers' interests.
Yeah. And Chris, students were at the heart of it then, way back then. They're at the heart of it now. But what has changed in terms of that student participation or involvement?
Well, what changed is that back until this year, we had a paid student crew. And we needed it because at UNO Television, we were doing 4 or 5 productions a week. And so we needed enough students. We needed a core of students who had the experience, who knew the equipment, who could step in, and who we could schedule to come in at certain times. We didn't have enough classes that we could work things around, so we had to have the student crew. But because of some of the recent budget cuts that have happened, that student crew does not exist anymore. We don't have a budget to pay students to come in. And so what's happened is we've had to take a program like Consider This and the Omaha News and make them very, very student-based. And so we always hear about unintended consequences, and this is one of the best unintended consequences that you could ever hear of. Mike's field and studio production class took it over. He figured out a way to make it all work, to have the program during class time. The students come in and they do it, and they have taken the program over. They own the program. And I've seen it week after week after week. There is such a pride in doing this. Ultimately, they'll get a grade for it. But at the heart of it, they are making a television program that the entire state of Nebraska sees, and because it goes out on the Knowledge Network, the entire world can see. But they are getting a level of experience in a classroom that we didn't offer before. We did not offer that opportunity to them. The things they did in the classroom were seen by the class.
Right.
The things that are being done in this classroom are seen by the world.
Well, and kudos to you, Chris, and the other folks around the table trying to figure out what do we do now? Because programming, like you've been describing, could have gone away. But instead, you took that, put a positive spin on it, students still at the center. And Mike, really what that meant for you was a change in role for this particular production, right? Talk about that a little bit.
Right. I first, to Chris's point, when I first came on board, we did have like a whole slate of programming things that we had a staff that would work on television programming, and that's where I came in. And over the years, I would help out occasionally teaching a class. And as our resources tightened, we had to kind of combine workloads. And I have to admit, in this class, it's like a team approach, because we have Mark Dale, who's designed and built this set, and he's production coordinator, so he's usually helping supervise students in the studio environment. And Gary Repair right now is pinch hitting for me in the control room as director. And our engineer Frank Vosek he's our technical guru. So he comes up and he instructs the students for like charting cameras and doing the video levels. So I'm officially associated with the class, but I rely on all of them to help teach a whole crew, because the students rotate through these positions. So they learn different skills. And we need to deliver a finished program every week during the semester, so it can be very challenging in that regard.
So what concerns, Mike, did you have when you're all sitting around the table talking about this transition? Did you have any in thinking, oh, wait a second, we're going to go from paying these students to giving them some sort of grade, right? They're going to pay tuition now to take the class and go from there.
Yeah, and that wasn't really the concern. The concern was when you pay someone to show up and work a shift, you can rely on them for hours. When we shift to a class, a course outcome, it's restricted by semester. It's restricted by how many hours a week. So we immediately curtailed the number of hours we devote to getting this program done. So they come in for a couple hours on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. We review the skills they need to get up to speed on that Thursday, and then we record on Thursday. And then it only goes from January to May in the spring, or September to December in the fall. So we've cut back number of episodes we produce. And we've really cut back on options as far as building the set, tearing it down every week. I think we salvaged programming as we could and merged it with the academic side of the university. So we can continue to do this, but not necessarily as often as we used to.
Okay, and so Chris, what would you say to that in terms of just having a reduction in the number of programs? How's that going to look to the viewer, for example?
Well, it means more encore presentations through the year, because we still have a slot to fill with NET.
Right.
They still want the programming from us. It means fewer topics that we can cover a year. You know, Kathy, this is really the only statewide interview program that is produced in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And to have to cut back on that was really it's a tough decision.
Yeah.
And it was a forced decision. The other scary thing about going to the class-based is that when we had a crew, we would have students who would be in that crew for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 semesters, and they had such experience, and they could pass the experience on to the newer people, but you always had a core of experience you could start up almost immediately. Now we have to take a couple of weeks to get the students oriented. There's nobody that has more than a few weeks of experience, and at the end they have 3 months of experience, and that's about it. And that was a frightening thing. And what Mike has done is developed a curriculum that can get them up to speed, and the review and the preparation with Gary, with Mark, with Frank as needed. But it's his organizational skills and classroom skills that have done that.
Yeah, and because of all of that, we certainly haven't missed a beat. I would imagine if you talk to viewers, they would think this is the same, the same scenario, the same way that it's been done.
On the air, I see no difference.
So kudos to the students too. And Tim, you're one of those. So Chris is talking about those first few weeks. I mean, take us back to when you started. You're in the second wave of students, to do it this way, second semester, right? So you came into this class, what were your expectations coming in?
Well, My expectations coming in here, I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't think it was going to do an actual live TV show or producing things statewide. But coming in, it was been great. You speak to how prideful it is and how condensed we are in 17 weeks. We have to learn everything. But this unit, for my class, and I'm pretty sure in the other class, we help each other out a lot. And I wish I could say everybody's name, because even though we get to do one position every week and we don't really repeat it, we help each other out and make sure everybody's on point. And I really like the class. It's just really great because of that.
Yeah, so what benefits, other than what you're talking about here, let's look forward a little bit. So this class, coupled with other experiences that you're having here at UNO, how does that help you prepare professionally for this career that you're going to one day have?
I'm very involved in the UNO athletic department. I do video production for them. So a lot of these experiences here, running camera or TV directing, I did it at the arena already. But the classrooms really help, because a lot of these my classmates here are outside of class also. We have different classes together. We know each other. So that really helps. There's other experiences like video production. I get to go ahead and work with Mav Radio and my own program, Black Excellence, and I can help them out as well. And it all works together.
Do you have, so when Mike was talking about how you rotate, do you have a favorite position here in the studio or in the control room?
My favorite position, I haven't did it here, but it's definitely TV directing. It's the hardest one, I believe. You have to really know everything, and a lot of people count on you to become the leader. That's really my favorite one.
Now, I have to ask, do you have a least favorite? And I know your instructor's sitting right there, but go ahead, Tim. It's okay. You're in the safe zone. You're all right.
It has to be either prompter or for directing. That's pretty hard, you know. You got to keep track of the show, make sure everything flows right.
Well, I would think that would be less stressful than being a TD, right? No?
No, it's a little challenge. I like the challenge of, because I do it at the games as well, so I know the flow of it, so it's a little easier. I never in my life did for directing. Even in high school, I did Career Center, and I tried to avoid it, so now I'm forced to go ahead and do it.
In a nice way.
Yes.
Right. So, Tim, if we look 5-10 years down the road, where do you suppose we'll find you?
Hopefully directing movies. I really am interested in that. I talk to a lot of students outside of here. That's why communication is a great program for us, because we meet students who have the same interests, and you become really good friends with them, and they really want to help you out help you out with your project. So hopefully in 5 years from now, I'm directing movies.
Very, very good. Well, we know that you need to get back to the control room, so we're going to go ahead and dismiss you for now, Tim. And as we do that, I want to ask Chris. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. I want to ask you, Chris. So when we make this transition from it being a paid student crew, right, to students earning credits, there's obviously the tuition that helps pick up the cost for what you deem most appropriate. You have that call. Right. What else is UNO Television doing in terms of bringing in or generating the resources necessary?
We do rely on underwriting for this. You may have heard at the beginning of the program my voice announcing that we're supported by the College of Communication, Fine Arts and Media, which UNO Television is located in, and that's kind of a marker. They don't really give us any money. They just sort of let us do this. When we can find underwriting, there are some related costs. Because this goes statewide and because it plays several times a week, we have to have this program closed captioned. So we have to send it to an agency that closed captions. They charge us for doing that. They send it back, and we can air it on NET, which is a requirement. There are costs for the producer. There are, and the costs have gone down simply because we don't have the crew anymore. But UNO does not support this program. I mean, Mike is a director. He's on the staff here, and so his salary is supported. Right. But the costs that are outside of that UNO, we have to make that up, and I have to show at the end of every year that there's not a deficit for Consider This or for the Omaha News.
Yeah, and one of the things I get the better job that I'd like to show before we officially introduce Stephanie is some work that she actually did. So in addition to what viewers see here,
Yes.
these students are doing stuff behind the scenes too. So before we talk with Stephanie, I'd like to roll her video, something that she's put together for this program.
One, fade up one like a cue. Anastasia,
So you did that.
Yeah.
So this is Stephanie, right?
Hi.
Congratulations. As you watch something like that, just based on this discussion we're having today, how does that make you feel to know, A, you did that, and B, it's going to be aired statewide. Lots of people are going to see that, Stephanie.
I think it's, I think as a senior now that I'm graduating, it kind of brings back a lot of like hard work and then experience, but then also having fun with it. I feel like a lot of times we try to capture the moments when we're really busy. So I try to capture the students' experiences and how they enjoy their majors and you know, how they have gained that experience, but then also had fun with it. I think it's, I don't know, I always try to capture like the light in it, like the happiness in it,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, I really like this promo because I don't know, I felt like I put in the actual genuine personalities of people in the video. So
Yeah, one of the things that Tim mentioned was the importance of teamwork, that you are all pulling together to, especially a production like this, to make it fly right. I know a lot of professions require really good teamwork, but this one especially takes all of you pulling together to get that product on the air. Talk a little bit about what you've learned this semester in terms of other people, right? And knowing you have to depend on them for something and hoping that they follow up or follow through.
yeah, I think it, for me, it was, for me to be learning at the same time with others is so helpful, especially like, because I can take that experience of how others do it and then maybe apply it into my own type of way, how to do TD, how to do you know, camera and things like that, and they show you like these tricks that you didn't even think of, and you're like, oh, you know, I should do that too, you know. So it helps my ability to work better with others, and gaining that experience from one another and just being nice with one another is super chill. Like, we're not freaking out at one another, you know. We're
Right.
pretty relaxed students, but like we get things done, and we all have that same love for communication. So at the end of the day, it shows with what we do.
Let me ask you, you're a senior. Greatest lesson learned so far as being a part of this school, what would you say that is?
I think for me, it has to be a lot with getting to know others outside in the community, and then when I'm out there doing like news stories, or when I'm out there trying to get footage, you know, I did also an outro for Consider This, and I had to go out there in the community and talk to people and get to know them, you know, get to know their experiences. I think it's the greatest lesson I've learned is how to be able to tell a story through the eyes of someone else. And I think I learned that in the 5 years I've been here, is how I can apply their experiences into a video or audio story.
That's very interesting, because I know you have the visual here, but you're also part of MAV Radio. And as we're talking about that, we're going to put some video up. But yeah, talk about your experiences there and how the two of those come together.
Yeah, oh, I love MAV Radio. I think it's, that's where I found my voice, and that's where I found my ability to, you know, put stories together and like learn about audio and the quality of it. And I don't know, I've realized that I listen more to audio, even when I'm like listening in on a TV screen or something like that. I play the story in my mind, and I try to do that the same way when I show people my audio story. I want them to feel like they're there. And I think MAV Radio has kind of helped me do that. because it's helped me apply, my own experiences with students' experiences and telling that story. And that's what I've learned, I think, most of all. And like also the graphics and the background with how to improve your audio quality has helped a lot. And I'm still learning. Like it's just like we're learning the audio, Adobe Audition, all that is changing constantly. So you have to be like knowing how to improve your quality of voice, quality of audio, and how to tell that story to that person. And
yeah, and your change is such a small window of time, Stephanie, when you compare it to Mike and Chris's window, which would be a whole nother program in terms of what we've seen. I asked this of Tim and I'll ask it of you. If we were to fast forward in the spirit of this program, 5-10 years, where are we going to find you?
I really like video and I really like audio and just production, but I really like to focus on the stories of others. And I think like the show, it talks about the issues and things that are happening out there in the world, and I think it's so important to continue that. So I would love to work in that aspect of video or audio, telling a story.
Well, we wish you the best with that. I want to put up a couple websites in case our viewers have any other questions about this program. I know that there are 2 of them. We have unotv.unomaha.edu, and then we have unomaha.edu. Search for School of Communication. Chris, Mike, Stephanie, thank you so much for being here and for sharing with our viewers what's been going on behind the scenes here on Consider This, and best wishes to, I guess, all of us moving forward,
Yes,
right?
thanks. Moving forward. Thank you.
And to our viewers for being so loyal and watching us for 21 years. As we close, a trip to Blackhawk Park in Bellevue, as seen through the lens of David Todd. He's also on this team, a junior at UNO. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at netnebraska.org/Consider This. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call UNO Television at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.
Support for Consider This is provided by the University of Nebraska at Omaha College of Communication, Fine Arts, and Media.